Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. Back on another Monday here with Korea, as always, for another weekend recap of college football and the NFL. And I guess we'll start off with some other things. Obviously, we have the NBA starting tomorrow, which we'll get more into later this week as well as next week. I think next week we'll start getting to more consistent episodes with college basketball also around the corner starting 2 weeks from today. Obviously, we have the World Series now set for Friday, Game 1 with the Dodgers and the Yankees, so we'll maybe have some plays in that as well, later this week as well as next week. But first, we'll get into a recap of this past weekend. We'll start off with Korea with you Friday and Saturday. Obviously, not the best overall, but it was a good. I meant to put first half right for the North Texas Memphis for that. So that was a good win, but otherwise not too good. Some tough losses. What did you take away from your weekend or from your Friday, Saturday college football plays?
Yeah, from this weekend, I pretty much faded myself. I guess in terms of where I was, and in terms of the good old saying, your gut says one thing, your brain says one thing. Yeah, this was all brain. Yeah, I faded my gut. Yeah, it was a tough weekend. First, Florida State, just bad program. They're not getting any more attention in college football for the rest of the season. Just bad. Cal, I mean, lost as 10-point out favorites. Just blew. I'm not even gonna go on and on about how bad that game was, but they blew a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter. That defense, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with Cal. They only play 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, they just don't know how to play football. It's happened over and over again, and I literally was shocked to see they were up considerable. They were up to I think 23 to like 14 or something, or just they were covering the spread, or like 23-10, and all of a sudden, NC State comes back and wins 24-23. So that was my Saturday, pretty much in a nutshell. Obviously, Kentucky as well, just no offense. My God. I mean, I think Florida may have found their guy now with Lagway. Obviously, it was kind of a decision between the two, whether it was Mertz or Lagway. And Mertz went injured, obviously down with that ACL injury. And here comes Lagway, and he looks like a complete boost for this offense. So, maybe we have to stop fading Florida now with how their offense looks now. And obviously, their defense, is sufficeable. And it's not like Kentucky wasn't in this game. Obviously, Kentucky was in this game at half, but their offense couldn't do much, obviously. And that's the one thing about Kentucky. Their offense is so bad, but obviously their defense, once their offense can't do anything, their defense is going to get gassed being on the field. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. So that was just tough weekend there. And then I'll take the win with North Texas Memphis first half over. That was pretty much the only really one I had play that I gave out. That was, more of a gut instinct. And that was so free that hit in the first quarter. I mean, if you watched that game, I don't know if you did or not, but if you did, I mean, it was just back and forth the entire first quarter, which was kind of what I was kind of expecting as well, with North Texas and their high explosive offense. I mean, first 2 plays for them from scrimmage were 75-yard touchdown plays. So obviously that helps for the over. And then Memphis was just doing what I would, what I said they would do, just kind of draining the clock, driving and finding the end zone as well. So we had 35 points in the first quarter. It was like 21-14 North Texas up on Memphis with I think a minute left. So didn't even have to worry. Just 2 good offenses going back and forth there. So that obviously, tough weekend, but I'll take that win. Just, sometimes you fade yourself and you think you're getting cute, but no, you can see how bad I did. So, and that continued to Sunday. So just tough day for me. But Ari, how did you do this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously me last week, but I was able to bounce back this week. 2-1 for me on Saturday. South Carolina, you blinked and they're up 21-0, not even like 6 minutes into the game. Oklahoma, I think they wound up benching Hawkins, and they wound up putting Arnold back in, who wound up being pretty good, but obviously it made no difference in the game because they were already down by too much. So that South Carolina rolled. The Alabama-Tennessee under was pretty sweat-free, barring some sort of like overtime, which, could have happened, obviously. But, it was 7-0 until like halfway through the third quarter. Obviously, there wound up being some points late in the second half. My lean was Alabama on the side, so good thing I went with the under over that, obviously. But yeah, it was 24-17 Tennessee. So the only way it was going to go over was like double overtime or whatever at that point, which was possible. But Milroe threw the pick that iced the game for Tennessee. So obviously Alabama fans aren't happy right now with the way they're playing, under DeBoer and their new coach, and the whole coaching carousel wound up not being. I mean, at least it's still early, obviously, but with Nick Saban retiring, wound up kind of messing a lot of things up for teams, including Arizona, who is in rat piss right now. But yeah, that's a story for another day, obviously. And then Utah was just an ugly, ugly game. It was always just the under. Like I took the Tennessee Alabama under because I was fading Tennessee's offense and backing their defense. It should have just been fading Utah's offense and backing Utah's defense like the same way. But I thought that, yeah, I mean it was 13-7. Obviously the final score was just, and the one touchdown was the one nice deep ball that Wilson threw. That was a nice play. But outside of that one play, it was really, really bad. I mean, Bernard only saw 13 carries. I thought this would be a game where he saw like 22, 23 plus carries. But they're never like down. Like they lost 13-7. They're never down by a lot. It's like they just, yeah, I don't know what the game plan was, but I think it was yesterday, their offensive coordinator stepped down. So, whatever that will do, obviously. But obviously, I'll still take a 2-1 day for me on Saturday after I was also had a terrible weekend last week, and obviously. So I'll take it, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, great to see you have a good weekend for South Carolina. That was pretty sweat-free, obviously. In fact, that was very sweat-free. I was just fading Oklahoma's team total, but I was getting a little nervous just because, it was a different team, obviously, coming off that Texas game. But maybe we'll just be fading Oklahoma's offense for the entire SEC slate because, my God, it's bad. And obviously, there's a ton of good SEC defenses left for them on the slate. So, maybe just going Oklahoma. As soon as I see a good matchup and I see Oklahoma's team total, just go hit the under button, guys. Just hit the under button because 12 points in 2 games, obviously facing Texas and then facing South Carolina. So, just really, really horrible offense for Oklahoma. So that was a pretty great winner for you there. Alabama, Tennessee, you mentioned under 57. I never had a good read on this game the entire week. I was here in Alabama one side. I was here in Tennessee the other side. I was seeing over. Obviously, you went the under, and obviously that was a great winner for you. It was a weird game, obviously, just how bad both offenses pretty much looked throughout the first, half and going on into the third quarter. But then obviously both offenses started to get themselves going. Obviously Nico with the deep ball, and obviously Milroe, he struggled all game. And, there's a lot of controversy going on in Alabama right now in terms of, coaching. And as you mentioned, the whole coaching carousel, you can get into, a whole conversation about that another time. But obviously the under was a great winner for you. And then Utah, yeah, I'm never putting Utah in another slip again. I'm so done with this team. I'm actually so done with this team. They couldn't even run the ball against one of the worst running teams defensively in all of college football, and they lost by 6 points to the worst defense because they couldn't run the ball. That is how bad Utah is right now. This team was a team that I had making the playoff at plus 200 at the beginning of the season. This team is rat shit. I'm done with Utah. If Cam Rising, the 8th year senior, Mr. 24-year-old comes back next year, I'm going to be fading Utah every single game. Even if it's not him, I'm still going to be fading Utah every game because I hate Utah. This team pisses me off every time I see them. They steal my... Utah was a bad bet for you. Utah was a bad bet for me last week. I think we can both agree, Utah, you are not getting on our bet slips anymore this season. On to Sunday. Tough day for me as well. 0-2. First, I mean, technically 1-2, but I'll get into why the 2. First, Seattle Falcons. I mean, I thought this game was destined to go over, with how, many points, the Seahawks team was scoring. Falcons, just no offensive rhythm yesterday. So, you can kind of say that's a win, obviously. As a Seahawks fan, that's great to see that the defense is starting to get themselves back. But obviously, we had this over here. I thought the Falcons offense was going to do a little more. Obviously, they were pretty much shut down the entire day by Seattle's defense. And obviously Seattle, it's not really their fault. Obviously, they put up 34 points. So, when you're asking for an over, that's all you need. You need points. And Seattle did their job. So Atlanta Falcons couldn't do your job. Obviously, only scored 14. So, obviously score ended at 48. So that was a tough loss as well. That one was really tough to see. Obviously, part of me obviously wanted more points, but obviously, I was like, okay, let's just get the win there. So obviously that was a great win there. But obviously the other teaser, I even talked about this on Friday, Ari. I said I don't like fading Mahomes, and I am going to put a pinned note on my mirror to say, do not fade Mahomes as a dog anymore. Because every single time it hits, even when you doubt, right? Even when you have that little thought of doubt that I had, right? Because obviously that's why I put the Niners in the teaser. Of course, why a Seahawks fan asking the Niners to do something? What am I thinking there? And then the Steelers, obviously, that was the most sweat-free bet of the night. Obviously, they had that outright win. Pretty much their offense cruised. Maybe I know some people are saying that their offense might be fixed, but it's not like their offense really, I guess, had a problem. It was just, more of how explosive that offense can be. And we saw how explosive it was against the Jets defense last night. Russell Wilson, obviously as us as Seahawks fans, almost brought a tear to our eye. Obviously, 10 years ago, obviously Seattle was being led by that man, obviously, to a Super Bowl. And now to see him 10 years later, still swinging the ball, it's really nice to see. But obviously, tough for the teaser, obviously with them cashing and the Niners just selling me again. So, like I said, I faded my own gut, and look what happened to me. Not doing that again, Ari. I know you had the Chiefs yesterday. That was a great winner. How'd you do yesterday?
Yeah, 2-0 day for me. Bengals was kind of a weird divisional game because they ran back the opening kickoff for a touchdown to take a 7-0 lead right away, and then they didn't score another point the rest of the first half. Obviously, you credit the Browns defense for that. It was 7-6 at half. It was cool to see Nick Chubb, score a touchdown in his first game back, obviously. But then the third quarter started to break open the game. They scored 2 touchdowns to go up 21-16 or 21-6. And then it was just a last minute, I think it was Njoku touchdown. And then a 2-point that got it to 21-14. And then the Bengals recovered the onside kick. Obviously, the big news of that game, obviously, was Deshaun Watson, and his injury. So, that was that. We'll just leave it that there, obviously. And then, the Chiefs. I talked about it on Friday, obviously. I mean, I didn't think that they would, blow them out, but, they really did. Even though it was 2018, the last touchdown the Niners score was really just prevent defense, for the most part. So, but, it was an ugly game because there's, 5 picks in total between the two quarterbacks, obviously, but Mahomes just made enough plays late, when he needed to. It was getting a little dicey, in the fourth quarter for the Chiefs. Even when it was 21-12 and they had first and goal, or I guess then I got to third and goal for the Niners when Purdy threw the third pick in the end zone. That could have been big for your teaser, obviously, if they scored that touchdown, obviously. But the pressure got to him, and he just, he threw a pick. He threw another pick. I think one of the picks was more just miscommunication with, I think it was Conley, but then the other 2 were just bad, if I remember correctly. But yeah, the Chiefs I think now they're the only undefeated team in the NFL now since Minnesota lost. And they're not even, playing, and they're still going to get Pacheco back probably. And they didn't even have Juju. But then that was a weird game too because Ayuk got hurt pretty early too. So both teams were pretty much depleted offensively. And obviously you saw the better quarterback step up, in that. And then, the Chiefs defense is also really, really good. As is the Niners defense too, of course, but Mahomes just has their number. So yeah, obviously a tough week for you, but that was me last week, and bounce back. So I know you'll bounce back, obviously, and especially now with college basketball around the corner, we'll have a lot more variety of plays as well. So definitely a lot to look forward to as we get into November and December soon with more sports, obviously.
Yeah, obviously first I know it's a running joke, but I know people out there on Twitter are like, if one like earlier in the season was like, you had one place like, oh, can't wait for basketball season to start. That's me. I cannot wait for college basketball season to start. It's like one of my more profitable sports, but obviously tough weekend for me, obviously great weekend for you. Bengals, you mentioned just that game was kind of weird. Obviously, you mentioned, the whole Deshaun Watson injury, and there was the whole controversy of the fans and whatnot. We're not going to get into that, but tough to see an injury like that. Nonetheless, obviously, if you saw the video, you could see that his whole pretty much Achilles just popped, and it came out obviously earlier today that he ruptured his Achilles, so he's pretty much done for the season. So. But it was great to see the Bengals obviously just cover the six there. Obviously got a little sweaty near the end, obviously, with the Browns having that garbage time TD near the end. But obviously it didn't really matter, obviously, with the Bengals covering the six, obviously winning by 7. And then the Chiefs, obviously, I already talked about it. Mahomes, don't fade him as a dog. Steve Spagnuolo really knows how to plan for opposing offenses. And you mentioned ugly game offensively for both teams. You mentioned Chiefs with Mahomes having some interceptions on alongside Purdy having some as well. Just not really off any.
Looks like we may have lost Korea for a second, potentially. Okay, so like he was saying, obviously a tough week for him, good week for me, but it was basically the opposite last week. So obviously that's all comes and goes, with sports betting, with the peaks and valleys and lows and highs. Let's see if he texts. Okay, yeah, he'll be back on in a second. But yeah, I guess again, this quick recap of the Bengals and Chiefs. Obviously, the Bengals was a little bit sweaty towards the end, with the late touchdown to Njoku, but they still needed the onside kick, so I still felt, comfortable with that bet, obviously, at that point. And then the Chiefs was a slow start early. Then they took, the 14-3 lead. Then some turnovers, went back and forth a little bit after that. But yeah, like we were saying, we have the NBA starting tomorrow. And then, so that's basically every day. And then 2 weeks from today is college basketball. So that's, a big sport for both of us as well. So we'll probably be going back to our everyday episodes. I think probably next week. And then, because then we'll have the NBA every day, and then we'll basically have college basketball basically every day as well. So that'll be starting next week. So we'll probably still just do Monday, Thursday, Friday this week. And then next week we'll get back into our, at least, if not daily, at least 4 days, but probably Monday through Friday. But I guess I'll just get into my one play I like for tonight, and that's, we have 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. Obviously, the Bucs Ravens is on ESPN, and then we have the Chargers Cardinals on ESPN Plus. And I think that's at 6 as Korea's back. Did you want to finish what you were saying before?
No, let's just move on.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just get into my play real quick. Backing the Chargers, really just, I want to see the Cardinals offense succeed, for fantasy purposes, but I'm just backing the Chargers. I think the Cardinals offense is in a tough spot just in general as a team. And I don't think this is a good spot for them against the Chargers defense, where I think Harbaugh is going to get, it's just a bad matchup for the Cardinals offense that's not quite in sync overall. I think we're going to see, J.K. Dobbins, which I don't want to see for our matchup for fantasy, obviously, but I think we're going to see them control the clock with J.K. Dobbins in the run game against Cardinals defense. And then that should open up the play action passing as well for Justin Herbert. So I mean, the Cardinals. I've been waiting for the Cardinals' offense to kind of explode. Since week one when we saw that against the Bills, and they've had flashes here and there, but it just hasn't been consistent at all. So this is mostly just a matchup spot for me for the Chargers. The line has gone in the favor of Arizona. It went from like 2.5, +2.5 to +1. So there is money going in on Arizona. So we'll see if that plays a role in the game, obviously, but. Just matchup wise, I'm just backing the Chargers. Just the better defense and the run game. Maybe not better run game per se, but better defense against the run, and then a run game against the worst run defense that can probably control the clock for most of the game. So I looked at the under as well. I think it's at 40.5 last I saw, I believe. But I'm just going with the Chargers and must essentially pick them now to get the win.
Yeah, obviously, I was looking at this line, very, very suspect. You mentioned it opened as the Chargers as bigger favorites, as almost as high as +3 or -3, and then it's just dropped overnight or throughout the weekend all the way to pretty much a pick 'em, which is kind of concerning me. But I do like the Chargers in this spot. You mentioned, J.K. Dobbins, obviously for our matchup here, I do want him to go off, but either way, I do think he has a good day. You mentioned Cardinals, one of the worst run defenses in the league. Obviously, we talk about how, they really can't stop the run. And I think that's what, the team that likes to run the ball, Jim Harbaugh, we mentioned, the Chargers near bottom in terms of passing yards per game, in terms of the pass game. But I do think, with tonight's game, I think the run game obviously gets itself going. That could open up the pass game for Herbert, find his, receivers like McConkey and Quentin Johnson and all that. So I do lean the Chargers. I thought this line was just really, really finicky, obviously, with how it's been going. So I was leaning the Chargers, but I didn't want to put anything on there. So I do lean the Chargers, though. So I do like that play tonight. Obviously, I only have one play tonight. I don't usually go to player props. I just don't really like both lines today with the Ravens. Obviously, I do lean the Ravens, but that spread is just, already climbing up to 4. And I think the Buccaneers can potentially backdoor, make that game close, make it a field goal game. And then obviously I do lean the Chargers, but that spread is also going the wrong way as well. And I think that could be a weird game potentially. But I know a lot of people are going to be loading up Ravens and Chargers parlays today. But I'm going to stick to a player prop I know is going to cash, and I'm going to go to Mike Evans here, anytime touchdown here, +125. I know a lot of people are concerned about his injury status. I saw Schefter said he's off the injury report, so he should be good to go tonight. I think in this matchup, obviously, you look at, the Ravens, and obviously they're a lot better on the in terms of their offense on the ground versus in the air. We know how the Ravens like to control the clock with Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry and all their key guys in terms of their offense, how they just run the clock out. And obviously that's going to set up a kind of a perfect script for the pass game for Baker if they're down early to this team. Obviously, I saw Derrick Henry's prop at -215, so Vegas thinks that he's automatically going to get in the end zone tonight. But I like Mike Evans on the other side. I think if they're going to be passing this game, obviously, we know how much Baker loves to target Mike Evans in the red zone. And, if it's just a jump ball, that's pretty much all we need, obviously, over Marcus Williams. I expect Chris Godwin to have a great day as well. Whether it's just in the pass game to set up, the maybe some second or third and long for them. But in terms of the end zone, I think Mike Evans finds ones in the back of the end zone tonight. We know his height, obviously, and Baker loves to target him in the red zone as much, whether it's like first and goal inside the 5 or whatnot. If the run game, which I think may have a little bit of a challenge tonight, obviously, against the Ravens defense, the Ravens, the defensively have not had, some of the bigger challenges in terms of the run. Obviously, they had to play the Cowboys, but they are pretty susceptible to the pass, and we've seen that. We saw that game against the Cowboys where, they made it interesting with the pass game, but obviously the Ravens still got the win, neither here nor there. And so I'm just going to take Mike Evans to have a good day and obviously find himself in the end zone. Obviously, I know a lot of people are going to be taking Derrick Henry and looking at, all in J.K. Dobbins for the other game. And, I do like finding plus money guys. And I think Mike Evans, obviously plus money here, +125, I think is a great look, for a end zone threat. Obviously, we know how much he gets in the end zone, and Baker loves to target him in the red zone. So I think with just how this game goes, obviously with the positive game script for the pass for Baker Mayfield and the Bucs at home, I think they target Mike Evans in the red zone as well. So I think anytime touchdown here is a great look at +125 there. So 2 plays for tonight here with Mike Evans and then Ari going with the Chargers pretty much on the money line here or almost a pick 'em here, obviously, as the Chargers spread has been going down all week from 2.5 all the way down to almost a pick 'em here. Who knows where that ends up before kickoff tonight. But obviously he's on the Chargers. And obviously me, I'm Mike Evans. Anytime touchdown here, plus 125. You can find both of these plays, on our Twitter below, AKP Sports Talk. We'll have our full card, post momentarily soon for tonight's 2 games in the NFL. But as already mentioned, we're getting closer to the beginning of the NBA. Obviously, tip off tomorrow night. We're going to be getting more to our our daily episodes now. With the NBA coming back, along with college basketball starting soon in about a couple weeks here. Obviously, next week, a week from today, we have the sports equinox. So we're gonna have our parlay for that. We don't usually do big parlays, but obviously sports equinox. We have all major sports in the United States happening. NHL, NBA. We'll have the World Series between the Dodgers and the Yankees, and obviously some Monday Night Football. So we're going to have a parlay for that coming soon. But that's going to do it for this episode of AKP Sports Talk. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. That's Ari. I'm Korea. Thursday night football game. Vikings and Rams. I know a lot of people are going to be loading up Kyron Williams anytime touchdown. I don't know how it's going to do. A lot of people are saying 9 TDs he's been rushing in for. I don't know. Can he make it 10? We'll find out Thursday, obviously. That's Ari. I'm Korea. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you on Thursday.